Can you see my Sailor Moon shirt? Alright, so 3, 2, 1, let's go. So, how's everyone doing today? I literally did not sleep. I basically kind of slept the whole day yesterday by complete accident. I don't really want to get into it, just know that I slept the entire day by complete accident. And then, so when I woke up at like 1:30 in the morning, well actually no, I was supposed to go to hang out with a friend yesterday and that didn't happen. I was actually kind of like sad about it, so I went to sleep instead. And then I woke up at like 1:30 and then I had like this whole like teenage movie montage thing, like, you know, like when they like get yelled at by their best friend or like their significant other like breaks up with them or something, like, you know, and they just go like walk around and like, yeah, so I just like went to the park in my feelings and just like laid on top of my car, listened to music and just like stared at the sky and shit and like, yeah. And then I went home, drank coffee for some reason, edited my website because it was not looking pretty. And I tried to take a nap, but then my friend told me that he watched the first Naruto movie because he's never watched all of Naruto before. Then I was just like all riled up after that, and then I realized I wasn't gonna get sleep, so I decided I was gonna film this video. But that's my life in case you guys cared about that. But we're gonna talk about what you're actually here for, which is my thoughts on the newest Doctor Strange movie. I don't know if I should be saying this like right off the bat, but all I'm gonna tell you is I did not care for this movie. I really did not. I really didn't even care for like the first Doctor Strange movie, to be honest. It wasn't bad. I just didn't care about it. But this movie, I can honestly say that I do have opinions on, and it kind of flows a little bit into like how I feel the MCU has been going so far as like the movies, and they have just not been hitting lately. They just have not been doing all that good to me, honestly. I think the only other movie that like I saw was like the Eternals and stuff, which that was all right, but it did have its glaring issues. And then there's this movie and I'm just like, what is happening? Anyway, let me just get into why I feel that way, and then hopefully you can see where I'm coming from. But yeah, I'm gonna try my best to go in chronological order with this. Whenever I do movie reviews, it's kind of like all over the place. I tend to like wander off as I'm talking about it, so I'm gonna try not to do that, and I'm just gonna try to stay on topic as I go through. So I do start to drift off, just accept it. But yeah, so the beginning of the movie starts off with Doctor Strange. He is going to his ex's wedding because things didn't work out between them, and now she's getting married to somebody else. And even though Doctor Strange very much has feelings for her still, he tries to, you know, wish her well and, you know, just say that he wants the best for her, while also sort of reminding her that like, hey, you know, I kind of still love you. You can get married and stuff, but like, I just want you to know, if if things don't work out, like, I'm down the street. Anyway, no. I mean, like, apparently Doctor Strange, like, it's kind of like one of those like cursed love situations. If you've watched What If, which I'm not going to get into that, but if you've watched What If and then you get to Doctor Strange's part, then you'll know exactly where this is bound to go, which I'm not going to get too ahead of myself. But yeah, Doctor Strange, and I completely forgot her name. That is not good. I could even look it up and I'm just like not going to. I don't know. Does that make me like, that probably just makes me like a bad movie reviewer, but anyway. But yeah, Doctor Strange and his ex, they kind of have like this like cursed love situation where it's like kind of like against all odds, they just cannot be together, and it's just not meant to be. The universe just simply cannot have them be together. It's, you know, one of those situations. And okay, so somewhere in the beginning of the movie, before that, you get introduced to this character, America Chavez, who you don't know at that point in time, but she has the ability to jump through dimensions. So she can jump through different universes, different realities, different dimensions at will, supposedly, if she could control her powers. But she cannot. She can only activate her powers at times of great stress, which makes her powers even more dangerous than they already kind of inherently are. And you see Doctor Strange, or at least who you think is our Doctor Strange, like somewhere in some spooky in-between dimension space. This monster is hunting down her and Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange ends up trying to sacrifice America because he simply cannot allow her to be captured. So the only other option is to just kill her. If he can't save her, gotta kill her, because it's too dangerous for her powers to be captured by the monster. But then he wakes up and he realizes that it was all just a dream. But for some reason, it was a very, very vivid and surreal dream. And you wonder why that's the case. So going back to the ex thing, you know, he's at his ex's wedding, but then, and after the whole like, you know, I still love you, you know, I'd do anything for you, but I know it didn't gonna work out. Suddenly a monster starts attacking the city. So Doctor Strange leaps into action and starts to do his Avenger duty and goes into attack mode. But then he realizes that this monster seems to be chasing this little girl. And that girl happens to look exactly like the girl that was in his dream that another monster was also hunting. So, you know, they go through a whole battle trying to take out this monster. Eventually they do. And then he asks the girl, hey, who the fuck are you? You were in my dreams, and then now all of a sudden you're not in my dreams. So, you know, what's up? And then she tells him that it was not a dream. And just like, I'm kind of like just gonna go into like how I feel about America, or how I felt about her when she was like kind of being introduced. They didn't really like sell her very well, because like from what I gathered of America, like what I knew about her beforehand, which I've said this before, I said it in my last video, but I do not know the comics very well. So if you came here thinking that I was like very well informed about the comics, I am not. I am simply just giving you my thoughts and opinions of what I do know and what is in front of me on the screen. So ideally, you wouldn't have to know so much about the comics in order to enjoy the movie, but in this situation, the fact that I did have an idea of what America was supposed to be rather than what I saw in the movie, like I was able to, like, it kind of, I don't know, I guess it kind of like maybe ruined the image for me more and stuff, but I feel like even if I didn't know that, I just probably wouldn't have liked this girl, to be honest. Like, because they just made her be like super, she was just kind of like, you know, like they portrayed her as like this bratty teenager and stuff, at least in my opinion. And that's also like just really annoying, because like just because you're a teenager doesn't mean you have to act like this, you know, just a bratty teen. Like I don't know, that's just so old and played out, is my opinion. So I was kind of just immediately annoyed. And then just like her powers, so I'm kind of like skipping forward. They just didn't really make it seem like her powers were, with words, they made it seem like her powers were super, you know, that she was super powerful. And I get that, like, you know, the ability to jump through different realities is pretty remarkable, right? And stuff, but they still just didn't like sell it as well as they could have and stuff, because like for the most part they just made it seem like, I don't know, they just made her seem like an environmental hazard rather than like a super powerful potential superhero. That's my opinion, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So he finds out that that wasn't a dream, and that was an actual thing that did happen in another reality. So that's when you find out that she has the ability to jump through realities, and that there's somebody that wants that power for themselves. So in an attempt to figure that out and also try and protect America, Doctor Strange decides to go and get some help. And who better to contact other than the Scarlet Witch? So he goes to visit Wanda in a very lovely meadow. They have a really nice talk. Wanda thinks that he's there for what happened in Westview, which if you've seen WandaVision, you know what that is. I don't need to go into that, but she just really fucked up. Very, very, very bad. And she thinks that he's over here to talk about that. She's like, hey, before you say anything, I already know that I fucked up. I already know that like that some shit went down. You don't need to tell me about it. He's like, no, I'm not even here for that. I'm here because there's this girl that cannot control her powers. And I think that you might be able to help me with that, because there's also these monsters that are coming after her, and I think that you might be able to assist me with that. To which she says, why not just bring America over here to me and I can protect her. As you said, I'm like the most well suited for this. He never said her name. So then he kind of like takes a step back and she realizes, you never told me her name, did you? To which he says, no. And then she reveals the reality that they're standing in, which is somehow they're standing in like a burning forest. I don't know if that was actually there. I don't know where. I don't know, like I don't know if she actually burned down a forest. I don't know if that was just magic or like what the fuck, but like, you know, they're in a burning forest. So then you figure out that she has been corrupted by this book called The Darkhold, which is this book that contains very powerful dark magic, and so powerful that once you've been exposed to it for a prolonged period of time, you slowly but surely fall deeper and deeper into darkness. Which like I did think was like a very interesting plot point, because it goes into like this whole idea that like once you realize that you have the power to do something and then you actually use that power to do something, I think it becomes very hard to not go further and further into that, because power is tempting. It's like one of the biggest temptations out there and stuff. That's why power is very dangerous. That's why power can corrupt you and stuff. The more power that you have, the more responsibility that you have to basically control yourself and control what it is that you're doing, because like it's very easy to go off the rails once you realize that you have the power to do all these things. So anyway, I thought that that was like a really interesting plot point to introduce, and that is one of the things I actually did like about this movie. But as we go on, we'll start to go into like the things I didn't enjoy. But yeah, so to skip forward a little bit, she kind of like reveals herself as like the enemy, which is not something that I was expecting, to be honest. I didn't know she was gonna just become the actual big bad of this movie. And I know that this is actually, I think this is actually like a real comic, like in the comic universe and stuff. So, but even with that, like I still kind of just found it annoying that she was the big bad in this movie, which I'm just gonna go ahead and talk about that right now. Because so if you watch WandaVision, she already went through this whole thing once, where she, even though that was an accident, she already went, like, we've already gone through this lesson. Like, you can't, like, these people are gone. These people, this reality that you've created does not exist. It is not real. And you can't just, you've gone too far to, like, try and create this reality that you crave so badly and stuff. There's some things that you just simply cannot have. Like there's like, you know, there's some things that you just simply have to accept, and you can't bend and manipulate reality into whatever it is that you want to be, because you'll end up hurting yourself. And then on top of that, you know, there's this whole idea that you can't mess with the natural balance of things, because the more that you mess with the natural balance of things, the more karma is going to be stacked against you and stuff, because the universe is going to try to establish balance in whatever way it has to. So the more you push against the natural order of things, the more negative energy is going to be created to like counter that. So eventually you're going to go too far, and the further you go, the bigger the consequences are going to be. I'm realizing that I'm not even like really talking about like what she did. She really wants to get her kids back. And it's just like, I was just so annoyed, because I was just like, we've already gone through this. And so you're just gonna go and do the same thing again, or something very similar. She's like hell-bent on getting her kids back, the ones that she created in a reality that didn't exist. And she's trying to find another reality where she can be with her kids and her kids do exist, so she can go be with them. Which already opens up like a whole slew of like potential issues that could come up with just that idea alone. We're just gonna move on with the story, I guess. And Doctor Strange tells her that like, hey, like, you know, they don't exist and you can't do this for a wide array of reasons. And she's like, oh, but they do, because I talk to them every single night. I see them every single night in my dreams. You realize that she's been doing this thing called dream walking, where you just basically jump to different realities in your dreams. And she's been doing that, trying to find a reality where her kids exist. So that poses a very immediate problem that they need to stop, because you also figure out that the reason why she wants America is because she has the ability to jump to different realities. So once she finds this reality, her plan is to use America so that she can actually go to that reality, which is a very, very bad thing because you cannot upset the natural balance of things. And as the former Sorcerer Supreme, Doctor Strange cannot allow this to happen. And also he can't allow this to happen because his new boss does not want this to happen. So this just can't happen. She gives him a chance to like back down. She's like, I've been very reasonable, but if you stand against me, then I just want you to know that I have been very reasonable. So then we get to my this is like the next thing that I hated so much. When she gets to Camartage, they rally the entire army against her. So this is like the school for sorcery. Like everyone there is supposedly very powerful, right? So like when Doctor Strange confronts her, basically she says, get out of my way or else you'll face the consequences. And then like he's just like, if you don't back down, then the full might of Camartage will stand against you. So neither of them back down, and then the entire army is ordered to attack. Yeah, so then there's like this battle between the sorcerers of Camartage and Wanda, and I get that she was supposed to be portrayed as super powerful. I know that that was the point, but it was just kind of like that was the full might of Camartage. She just basically wiped the floor with all of them. Like it was nothing. Like she just didn't even break a sweat. Like it was just like such a helpless one-sided battle, and it was just so annoying. Like it just didn't make any sense because these are supposedly like well-trained sorcerers, right? And like even if like she's so powerful she probably wiped away like most of them, that would have been fine. But there should have been like at least a few that should have put up a fairly good fight. You don't have any like straight A students, like some elites or anything that could maybe put up a fair fight against this person. I mean, they're very similar powers. I just, you know, it just was very underwhelming, and I just was annoyed that that was even in the movie. But anyway, moving forward. And then on top of that, like, it wasn't even treated like it was like as devastating as it should have been, because she literally killed everybody in the school. They were just like, oh damn, like, what the fuck are we going to do? Like, everyone's dead now. But it wasn't like, you know, as dead, like, oh, they're all like, it just, like, I don't know, like, I just felt like they were like grasping the fact that like everybody is literally dead. So anyway, moving on. I forgot exactly how this happened, but Doctor Strange and America end up falling through different realities by accident, and they're like spiraling through all these realities until they finally ultimately land in this one reality. And in this reality, Doctor Strange is dead. I keep doing that. I don't know why I keep doing that. So in this reality, Doctor Strange is dead, and then he meets this guy who, his name escapes me. I'm like the worst movie reviewer ever. I'm sorry. Like, but I'm just gonna call him the black dude. I can say that because I'm black. Nobody comes for me. But the black dude in Doctor Strange's reality, this guy is actually a bad guy. But in this reality, he appears to be a friend. So he invites him into the temple, and they sit down, they have tea, which is already, I don't know why this is always a thing in movies, but like, if somebody, even if like just somebody that you don't trust even a little bit, don't take food from them. I just don't get, like, I just never understand that. Like, people go in there with all this suspicion, like, oh, I don't trust this person, I don't trust them, they did me dirty, or like, you know, I just have reason to believe that this person's up to no good, and yet they eat like this. So they invite them for tea, and they just like, I don't get why you think that, like, I don't get why no one thinks like that's a bad idea. Why would you drink the tea? But anyway, they're talking about this Doctor Strange and like what this Doctor Strange did in this reality, and also trying to discuss the things that are happening with America and the Scarlet Witch, who Doctor Strange is trying to warn is on the way. But then he realizes that the tea is drugged, and the black guy can't actually be trusted, just like he thought. And they wake up in these containment cells because they're being studied by scientists within this reality. And then you figure out that they're in there because they're from another reality, so they need to be studied and tested to make sure that they're not a threat to this reality. And Doctor Strange is especially a threat because there have been multiple Doctor Stranges from multiple realities that have all been threats. So he's already put under a magnifying glass because he could be like the umpteenth Doctor Strange that has caused issues, and he could possibly just be another one. Oh, and then like one of the scientists is basically Doctor Strange's ex, whose name escapes me. I'm so sorry, I just don't care about looking it up. Who is Doctor Strange's ex, and that also makes things awkward. He was like, what were we in this reality? And then she's like, we never quite figured that out. So, you know, it kind of goes into that whole thing, like it's kind of like this fated love thing where like it's just fate that they will not work out, or they just can't be together. But moving on. So then just like something just so stupid, in my opinion, happened. So he gets dragged to like this committee and stuff of like superheroes, and like you're wondering like, who the fuck are these people? And then one of them says that they are called the Illuminati. And I just, at that point, I was just kind of like, this movie is so stupid. I was like, just that in and of itself, like why are they called the Illuminati? Why is that? Anyway, so the Illuminati is putting Doctor Strange on trial because he could potentially be just another Doctor Strange. This is going to cause more problems, and so they just automatically do not trust him. But Doctor Strange like barely cares about that. He just is like, hey, we're probably like wasting time here because this enemy who's on the way, the Scarlet Witch, and she is coming to this reality so that she can get that girl that you have trapped in that cell, and she could be here like at any time, like she's on her way as we speak. And they just immediately just like brush it off, and they're just like, we're not concerned about your little witch problem. We're just concerned about you because we hate you. Fuck you. And like, it's just like, that aside, like, okay, like, yeah, you don't trust him. Okay, whatever. You're like a committee of superheroes, right? I'm assuming you've seen your fair share of disasters. So at the very least, you should at least like look into it a little bit, or just be like, hey, just in case he's telling the truth, let's maybe like beef up security, or like, you know, maybe one of us should go and check this out just to make sure that this is legit and like, you know, that everything's all good. But they're just like, that's such a non-issue. We're here to talk about you. What? So like when she finally shows up and they're just like, oh, but the only person that does believe him is Charles Xavier, who just suddenly comes up all of a sudden. I don't know, that was just kind of random to me, but he's the only person that believes him. And like, I get that he's supposed to be like smartest person in the world, but like, it doesn't take a big brain to at least consider the fact that this is maybe something that we should look into. So yeah, anyway, Wanda shows up as expected, and then they're like, oh my gosh, what's going on? It's just like, I told you that she was on her way, but you just decided not to believe me. So they go and they try to take care of it, which I really do not know. Like, Mr. Fantastic was also there. Don't know what he was supposed to do. Don't know how he was going to be of very much use at all against the Scarlet Witch, but you know, she literally like unraveled him. So like, she just kind of just like coasted through like all of the superheroes that stood against her, and the only one that actually stood a chance was this universe's Captain Marvel, which is another thing that I did not care for in this movie, because this is actually like a widely debated topic as to who would win in a fight between the Scarlet Witch and Captain Marvel. And the whole thing is like, they both have their like strengths and weaknesses against each other. So the Scarlet Witch is super powerful in terms of like magic and stuff, and Captain Marvel can stand a chance against most things, but her powers really can't do very much in terms of going against magic. But she's supposedly faster than the speed of sound. So if she can just like get to Wanda before she can cast a spell, then she can easily defeat the Scarlet Witch. Because, you know, Wanda has great power, you know, magic-wise, but she's very weak in physicality. So this fight had the potential to be like, you know, just this really, really big thing. And like, I mean, it kind of was, because, you know, out of all the people she's faced, like, I mean, she did walk away limping for the rest of the movie. But like, it was like fine up until like how Captain Marvel died, because like, so she was like taking it back a little bit, you know, trying to get back on her feet, and Wanda saw that she was standing underneath this like stone pillar, so she like knocks the stone pillar down on top of Captain Marvel, and then Captain Marvel just dies. And I'm just like, that does not make any sense. She can literally blast through entire battleships single-handedly just by cleanly blasting through all of them. And she's also so powerful that she can blow a crater into a planet without breaking a sweat. And you want me to believe that a stone pillar fell on top of her and then she just dies. I mean, for like plot purposes, I knew that they just couldn't spend too much time in this fight, so it had to end in one way or another. I'm not saying that she couldn't eventually die, but I mean, like, you would have to have some endurance to kill that bitch. So, like, it just wouldn't have been that easy. But they had to end it somehow, so I guess that's one way. But she did, like, walk away limping for the rest of the movie. And, like, as it went on, it was just kind of like, what are you doing? You just can't, like, escape the fact that, like, she's doing this again. Like, you didn't learn your lesson from the first time that you tried to manipulate reality to your whims. So how do you think that this is going to be any different? Like, that's the only thing I was thinking to this entire movie. And, like, I'm just gonna, like, kind of skip forward. So Doctor Strange realizes that the only way that he can defeat Wanda is by reading the Darkhold himself. So, blah, 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 blah. He ends up getting a hold of the Darkhold. I know I'm skipping through things. I'm assuming if you're watching this reviewed and you've watched the movie before, so I feel like I don't have to like go through every single detail. But he gets a hold of the Darkhold and starts learning dark magic himself, and then he eventually learns how to dreamwalk himself. And then while this is happening, Wanda gets the Sorcerer Supreme, the new Sorcerer Supreme, to like take her to this temple where supposedly she can do whatever it is that she wants to do. But then when they get there, she realizes that the temple is actually for her. It's a throne. So she uses that area as like, you know, just the site for her spell that she wants to eventually unlock. She did end up getting America somehow. I'm sorry, I watched this movie like a long time ago, so there's some things that I just kind of forgot. I'm not a good movie reviewer. I'm really not, so. But I do like sharing my opinions, so if you made it this far, you might as well just keep watching. But she did obtain America, and she's like attempting to get her to activate her powers. That's why Doctor Strange is having to resort to using the Darkhold so that he can stop this from happening. So he ends up learning how to dreamwalk, but the thing is with dreamwalking and using the Darkhold, like, you end up opening a portal to like the spirits of the damned and stuff, I think is what they're called. So those spirits start like tearing him apart and stuff because he's doing something that he shouldn't be doing. And he also kind of realizes that the only way that he can really dreamwalk into this reality is if there's Doctor Strange that he can jump into within that reality, which like they're like, oh no, you're not there, so he can't do that. But then he's like, I didn't say they had to be alive. So like I'm just so not good at this. There is a Doctor Strange that somehow came up towards the beginning of the movie, and then he died, and then so that dead body is there, and then he hopped into that dead body because it was in that reality. Moving on. So yeah, he ends up hopping into a dead body, and then that dead body goes to confront the Scarlet Witch, and then she calls him a hypocrite because he condemned her for using dreamwalking, but he's using it to try to defeat her. And like by this point, she's just gone like full, like, I mean, like, she's been like that for the whole movie, but now she's just like, you know, full on like big baddie. And like, you know, they start like fighting and stuff. Eventually, like, the Scarlet Witch just kind of like has her like hands full, and then like Doctor Strange starts talking to America. He tries to get her to use her powers, but then she's like, I can't use it like on command. I don't know how to use it on my own. And then he's like, no, you can do this, blah blah, and gives her like encouragement. And then so she eventually learns how to activate her powers, much to the Scarlet Witch's surprise, but that's also what the Scarlet Witch wanted. But America decided that the best thing to do is to just give her what she wanted. So she opens up the reality that she was trying to get to, but not at the best time because she's like literally wild with evil energy. So she looks pretty wicked right now. And the kids that she was trying to get to end up seeing her, and they're just like terrified of her. And they run to like their actual mom, who like previously she I'm so bad at this. But previously, she tried to like hop into her body while dreamwalking and just kind of like fucked her up for a second. So she was already kind of like going through it. And the kids like noticed like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with their mom? Mommy, please like save us. She's like, but you're my babies. I would never hurt you. And so then she like realizes that her kids don't recognize her. Like, she's like, her kids are literally afraid of her. And then she realizes like what this power and darkness and stuff has done to her. And that goes into the whole thing that I was talking about before, where like power has the ability to corrupt you. And if you become so obsessed with something to the point that you will literally do anything to get to that thing, which is a storyline that's been followed many times, but like it's a very interesting plot point because, yeah, like what I was saying, if you become so obsessed to the point that you will literally do anything to get that thing and you just become blinded to everything else, you're just focused on this one thing and getting into it and obtaining the power to do so, you become lost in your obsession. And then, especially if it's something that's really hard to obtain, by the time you get to that thing that you're obsessing over, you're no longer the person that you were. Because like, the things that you probably had to do have changed you so much. And in this scenario, she's done so much dark magic that she's just turned into a dark person herself. It's just a very interesting plot point. And you can also tie that into like reality, kind of with like billionaires and like the super rich elite and like, climate change and all that other stuff, where like these corporations that are directly contributing to climate change are for some reason very unwilling to change what it is that they're doing or make any amendments whatsoever. And they're just trying to convince the public and themselves that there's like nothing to worry about, that they're not doing anything wrong. And like, that's an example of like, they have the power to do that. They have the power to just simply just keep doing what they're doing. And that goes into that whole pushing against like the natural balance of things, because like with this, and I'm not trying, I don't mean to like get super dark and stuff, but like it goes like with that pushing against the natural balance of things. And so like, you notice that like they say that weather events are going to get stronger and like natural disasters are going to start becoming more frequent. That's a result of the universe, the world, trying to rebalance itself. So the more you push against, the more you like, start contaminating the world, the bigger forces it's going to send our way in order to counteract that. Because like, it's kind of like the world, think of the world as like an organism. It's going to fight to try to regain its health by any means necessary. And in this case, we as humans are the disease that are slowly killing it. So it's going to try and wipe us out in an attempt to save itself. It's trying to reestablish balance within itself. So the more you push against something, the greater forces stack against you. So I hope that makes some kind of sense. But yes, but she realizes that she's turned into a completely different person, and then just opts to stop what she was doing and stuff and just leave this family be. Decides to destroy the Darkhold so that nobody can fall victim to it again. And then that's the last that you see of the Scarlet Witch, at least in this movie. So then Doctor Strange, comes back to his original body, and then he's like with his ex again, and there is like a pondering of could they be together and stuff, but they decide that they can't. It just wouldn't be right because she needs to stay in her reality and he can't stay in this reality, so they can't be together once again. So he returns back to his reality. His ex is getting married to somebody else and life continues as normal, but now America is training to be a sorcerer, which I guess means that she'll start to like get more control over her powers, and that brings us to the end of the movie. So one of the things that people speculate is going on and stuff, and pretty much probably is the case because we've already seen like lots of evidence of it, is that the Young Avengers are going to be introduced, and America Chavez is one of the Young Avengers. I forgot what her superhero name is, but she's one of the Young Avengers. But it's just like this being one of the introductions, like being her introduction, just like did not feel very solid and did not feel very impressive at all. So like I just kind of like, if I didn't know anything about her, I would not really care about her, to be honest. That's just my opinion, but like she really just did not do anything that like particularly stuck with me and stuff, and I just kind of like I wouldn't say like, I was gonna say I more found her annoying and stuff, but I just really didn't care for her at all. I know that's not how I'm supposed to feel, and so that's just how I feel. And so like this movie just didn't there's just so many things that just bothered me and stuff, and overall the movie just felt like very off and stuff. Like, it just, like, there's something, the movies have just not really been hitting, and like I don't really know what's going on, because like we know they can do better than this, and so it's just kind of like, why aren't you? Like, what's going on? And even like, maybe these are just like not their best movies, which they aren't their best movies, and maybe they have better ones coming along the way. I feel like you probably should have put your stronger movies first, and then if you're going to have weaker movies, just put them somewhere in the middle and stuff, you know. I don't know, I just didn't think that this was a very strong introduction to the next phase. But you know, I guess we do have, you know, more movies coming on the way. Hopefully Thor Love and Thunder is really good. I'm gonna be really sad if it's not. But those are my opinions on this movie. I really hope that I at least made sense. I know that like there was some details that I skipped, and there's like some things I didn't remember. I just like to talk about things. I mostly just want to talk about the things that annoyed me, but I knew I had to like go in chronological order because I knew that that's what most movie reviewers do. But I just, yeah, I more just wanted to talk about the things that annoyed me. So when I got to those things, you know, that was like the point. But yeah, so those are my thoughts on Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Let me know what your thoughts on the movie are. Did you think it was good? Did you think it was bad? Did you think that it was somewhere in between? I'd like to have an open discussion about it, especially if you have a different opinion, or if you agreed with me, we can talk about that too. And yeah, we'll see what the next Thor movie has in store, and hopefully I will be a lot more impressed with that movie than I was with this one. But yeah, I think that's probably where I'm going to end this video. So without further ado, deuces.